going on, everybody? It's Richard Koberger here, the Blue Collar Nerd, and in this video, I'm going to be teaching you about Field Pro. So there are two tiers of Field Pro. There is Field Pro Standard and Field Pro Advanced. So I'll start by explaining Field Pro Standard. So Field Pro Standard basically enhances the capabilities of Atlas, which is the AI assistant built into the mobile app. I mean, technically the AI assistant anywhere in ServiceTitan is Atlas, but Field Pro Standard gives you enhancements specifically to Atlas in the mobile app. Okay, so by default, without Field Pro at all, Atlas in the mobile app can answer questions for technicians relating to information that is held within ServiceTitan. For example, they could ask, hey, does this customer have any open estimates? Or when was the last time a technician was at this location and what did they find? Or what equipment is installed on this location? And Atlas will provide them with those answers, basically saving them from having to dig through the mobile app interface to find all of that information manually. Okay, so that's all included for free. Now, once you have Field Pro Standard, then Atlas is going to gain the ability to do some more things. So it's going to be able to find and answer questions about equipment information that might be found in like equipment manuals, spec sheets, install guides, that sort of thing. And it gains the ability to do equipment troubleshooting with the tech. And it does all of this with information that it has access to through ServiceTitan's partnership with Bluon. And it currently supports residential HVAC, commercial HVAC, and water heaters. That's at the time of me recording this video in January of 2026, but more things might be added later. Field Pro Standard also gives you built-in calculators and diagnostic tests, as well as the replacement parts finder. All right, so let's go over how some of this works. So I'm in the Field mobile app right now. I'm working on a job. And you see I have this button here for Ask Atlas. When I tap into that, it gives me a few options: information in ServiceTitan, equipment information, troubleshooting, replacement part finder, and calculators and diagnostic tests. So if I did not have Field Pro Standard, then information in ServiceTitan would be the only option showing here, and everything else would be grayed out. All right, so let's start off with the equipment information. So it's giving me a couple of options here. I can either select from a drop-down of equipment that is already installed at this location, or if for whatever reason what I need isn't there yet, already attached to the location, I can just manually search for a piece of equipment as well. So I can do that by putting in a model number here, for example. All right, so let's say I'm looking for this piece of equipment here. This happens to be a Lennox air handler. I'll say submit. And then I can either put in a custom message or it gives me a few default options there. I'll say view PDF documents just to show you. And the PDF documents that'll show up here varies depending on the piece of equipment. This one has a PDF document here. We'll take a look at it. All right, so I've got this unit information sheet, and I could scroll through this manually to find information like some sort of pre-AI barbarian, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm just going to ask Atlas a question. So I'll just say, what size heat kit do I need for this? All right, I'll hit send, and then Atlas is going to search through that document for me to find the correct answer. Okay, so it tells me that I need a 12.5 kW electric heat kit. And not only does it provide me the answer, but it cites its sources. So it tells me where it's getting that from. So it's from page 13 of this particular document. And if I wanted to, I could tap into that just to double check. And when I tap into it, it opens up straight to the table on page 13 where it's pulling that information from. All right, let's try asking it a second question here. So what is the total external static pressure rating? And send. Give it a couple of seconds. And there we go, same thing. We've got our answer and it's citing exactly where it's pulling that from. Okay, so that's equipment information. Now let's check out troubleshooting. So whereas equipment information is more for just like, hey, I just need a piece of information that I know is like in a manual or on a spec sheet somewhere. Troubleshooting is more meant to collaborate alongside with the technician to help them figure out what's going wrong with the unit. So let me tap into that. Again, it's going to ask me what piece of equipment it is that we're troubleshooting. Same thing, I can either pick from a piece of equipment that's already on the location or search for another one. And since I already searched for one on this job, it's already filled in for me. So I'll just stick with that. I'll say submit. Okay, and then let's say when this unit is cooling, it doesn't seem to be draining properly. Water stays in the evaporator coil pan. I've already checked that the drain line is not clogged. What else could be going wrong? All right, let's see what it says. Okay, and it gives me a few possibilities here. Now, when I asked that question, I kind of had a scenario in mind. And the scenario I had in mind was that the slope of the drain line was the problem. Like it wasn't quite angled correctly, and so it was maybe going a little bit uphill, and the water wasn't able to drain. So within its suggestions here, I see number 2 is to check the level and slope of the unit itself. And then suggestion number 4, drain/trap/line configuration, it does tell me that I should check the slope of the drain line. Okay, so it gives me 6 total possibilities here in that particular scenario, and it gives me specific walkthroughs of like, what's the first thing I should do. It also, again, is giving me sources of what it's referencing to pull this information. All right, let's try a different one. Let's say, why would the blower motor not be starting? Okay, and then again, it gives me a list of a few possibilities of why that could be the case. No 24-volt call, no line power to the motor, blower relay/control board. Again, listing out a few possibilities and then giving me specific steps on what to do first. And then if I'm the technician out in the field as I'm sort of going through my troubleshooting, I can continue to collaborate with this and ask follow-up questions and tell it, okay, I checked that, that looks good. Okay, I checked that, that looks good. This is giving me this weird reading, what does that mean? It'll help them get there and figure out what's going wrong. So this is really, really great, especially for green technicians, but even for senior technicians, I can see this being very beneficial. All right, so that was troubleshooting. Now we've also got the replacement part finder. And this is what it sounds like if I need a particular replacement part. This is gonna show me a list of what's compatible. So we'll put in any particular model number here, say submit, and then it's gonna ask me what OEM part do I need to find a replacement for. So for this example, we'll say that it's gonna be the blower motor. I'll say submit, and then it gives me a list of compatible replacements. And a feature that is not out yet as of the time of me recording this video, but is coming very soon. This will soon have an AI algorithm that will match these parts to things that are already in your price book so that you can just easily add them to an invoice, an estimate, or a purchase order. Okay, and then finally, we've got those calculators and diagnostic tests. So here's a list of the things available here. We've got superheat, target superheat, airflow diagnostic, subcool, duct sizing calculator, nitrogen pressure test, pressure set points, and TXV size calculator. And just to show one off for you here, I'll do an airflow diagnostic real quick. It's just going to ask me for some inputs. So we'll say that the return air is 75 degrees Fahrenheit. We'll say the supply air is 65 and nominal tons is 3. I'll say submit, and then it spits out my result. Okay, so that's everything on the mobile side with Field Pro Standard. Now on the office side, you also get the Equipment Hub. And the Equipment Hub basically gives you access to some of that same data from BlueOn that's available in the mobile app, but on the office side. So you can look up a piece of equipment and see information about it, like its documentation, specs, and a list of compatible replacement parts, much like the replacement part finder over on the mobile side. All right, so that's Field Pro Standard. Now, what is Field Pro Advanced? Well, Field Pro Advanced includes all of the features that are in Field Pro Standard, but in addition to that, it also includes the set of features that was formerly known as Sales Pro. So just in case you're unfamiliar, Sales Pro is a system that records and analyzes technician to customer conversations out in the field, similar to how, your calls between your CSRs and your customers are recorded. But this is designed specifically for on-site visits. And it turns those conversations into coaching, training, and performance insights using AI. So basically, Field Pro automatically starts recording a field conversation once a technician arrives on a job. And then once the job is over, it's going to transcribe and analyze that conversation using artificial intelligence. It can then identify key moments within the conversation, like when the technician went over pricing, any objections that the customer brought up, any warranty talks or membership sale talks. And it can aggregate all of this data so managers know what to coach on and can essentially do virtual ride-alongs. Plus, using the AI, it can even do some coaching of its own. Now, I've already made a video on Sales Pro, which I'll link in the description box down below. And because I've already made that video, I'm not gonna get too in-depth on the nitty-gritty details of Field Pro Advanced. However, I do wanna point out one big change, which is that when I initially filmed that Sales Pro video, a lot of that experience existed outside of the native ServiceTitan interface. It happened in sort of its own app. That is no longer the case, so everything is now built directly into the ServiceTitan interface, so you don't have to open up a separate tab, a separate page, go into a separate app. And that applies to both the mobile side and the office side. So on the mobile side, as soon as a technician arrives on a job, it's going to automatically start recording without a second app having to open up and run in the background. And then over on the office side, all of your recordings and insights and scorecards and all of that stuff is all accessible directly within the ServiceTitan interface now. Anyways, that's all I got for today. Hey, be sure to hit like if you liked this video and found it valuable. Be sure to subscribe to ServiceTitan's YouTube channel if you haven't done that already. Hit that bell icon so that YouTube notifies you anytime we upload a new video. Appreciate it. Peace.